That speck? It's American surfer Garrett McNamara. Unbelievable, colossal, astonishing, pick your adjective for the monster wave he rode in January just off the Portuguese coast near the town of Nazaré. The lighthouse? It's at the top of a 200-foot cliff. Everybody wants to come and see this.
Yeah, exactly, because nobody knew that this was here in Nazaré.
In 2005, Dino Casimiro, a physical education teacher in Nazaré, sent McNamara this photograph to lure him to the small fishing village with its large waves.
The explosion is so big that for us to see the height of the explosion, we have to look up really up.
You say explosion. Does it feel like a real explosion?
Yeah, exactly.
Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama came here too, to pray. Before he set out in 1497, and again after a successful return from his voyage to find a sea route to India with its rich spice trade. He did what Christopher Columbus tried to do, but failed.
I think because we are a country, we turn to the sea. Our backs are turned to the land and we are always looking at the sea. We have that kind of impulse to see what is after that.
Even if it's frightening.
Yeah.
Portugal is a country where the sea is and always has been regarded as a living being, to be stared down, confronted. The song laments the price paid. But Portugal's greatest heroes, Vasco da Gama among them, are its explorers and their patrons during the Age of Discovery. In Lisbon, Portugal's capital, there's a monument to them. Da Gama, Diaz, Cabral, Magellan, Prince Henry the Navigator, all those names you memorized in grade school and immediately forgot. But think about this. In the 14 and 1500s, their daring and navigational skill made little Portugal, smaller than the state of Indiana, the first global sea power, and very rich. How it happened is a story about innovation, which will begin at Prince Henry the Navigator's outpost in Sagres, the craggy and windswept southwest corner of Europe.
The classical people, Romans, Greeks and other civilizations, they believe this is the point where the world finishes.
This is the end of the world.
Yes,
here?
That's the idea.
Historian Artur de Jesus.
They give you a picture, very interesting, how the sun sets here. They believe the sun dived inside the sea and made boil the sea, as you.
Boiled the sea?
Yes, yes.
But the Portuguese thought otherwise. Here, close to where many explorers began their voyages, Prince Henry surrounded himself with scholars, map-makers, astronomers, as well as navigators, amassing knowledge and intelligence, the 15th century version of R&D. Like a venture capitalist, he financed expeditions intended to push the boundaries of the known world for profit and to spread Christianity.
The idea was to take to other cultures, to other people, to other lands the Christianity.
So Christianity and exploration were always tied together?
Always.
Prince Henry died at Sagres in 1460. But by that time, Portuguese explorers had inched their way south along the coast of Africa as far as Sierra Leone. In 1488, Bartholomew Diaz made it around the Cape of Good Hope. 10 years later, Vasco da Gama reached India. Then, just 2 years after that, in 1500, Pedro Alvarez Cabral discovered Brazil And on it went, each explorer armed with knowledge provided by the last.
Those are the main voyages. Those lines represent routes that the Portuguese navigators undertook on their early voyages of exploration.
Lieutenant Gonçalves Neves heads the research department at the Portuguese Maritime Museum in Lisbon.
At its peak, when Portugal was at the height of its power, how broad was Portugal's reach?
From Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, to Tanegashima in Japan.
From Brazil to Japan, with everything in between. New technology was key, and this is what it looked like circa 1440. A ship with triangular sails.
And what is this boat called?
Caravel.
An ocean-going version of smaller fishing boats, the caravel revolutionized exploration.
Now, what would be the advantage of having this type of rigging?
You could sail very close to the wind, meaning that you would sail basically where and when you wanted to.
In a caravel, you weren't restricted to winds that just pushed you along from behind, as square riggers were. And the Portuguese had the best and most up-to-date navigational tools. For example, the mariner's astrolabe, which helped to plot location by measuring the altitude of the sun and stars.
This is the first representation of Brazilian territory in terms of cartography. It was drawn in 1502.
Portugal had the equivalent of today's proprietary computer software, accurate maps.
There was this, by order by King Manuel I, prohibiting the selling of maps showing the Portuguese navigations outside of Portugal.
Top secret.
Right.
So maps were Portugal's secret weapon in a way.
Maps were power, because knowledge is power.
King Manuel, who outlawed the sale of maps, began in 1502 building this. It's an extravagant shrine to Portugal's discoveries and to its heroes. Vasco da Gama, the embodiment of Portugal's long history of taking on the sea, is buried here. This summer, the Portuguese Navy honored that spirit by giving its Vasco da Gama Award to surfer Garrett McNamara, who holds the world record for riding this 78-foot wave in November 2011, just off Nazaré, where such exploits have always been understood.